The official Nintendo Switch Pro controller is way better than this wired PowerA controller, but are there some situations where it's worth buying this cheaper alternative? Since I'm such a big fan of the official Nintendo Switch Pro controller, I wanted to buy a wired version that I could use on my PC for Steam games. But since I already have it, I figured I should see how well it performs on the Switch. So I tested the PowerA controller side by side with the official one. I wanted to be sure that I tested the joysticks, D-pad, and all the buttons. So I set up both controllers on my Switch and tried out a few different games. I tried out Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Mario Golf Super Rush, Mario Golf 64, Super Mario World, and Super Mario Kart. I would play a little bit on the official Pro controller and then immediately try to do the same thing on the PowerA controller. I tried to make sure I was using as similar characters and setups as possible in game for both controllers to make this a fair comparison. On Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the joystick felt pretty good since the game doesn't require too much super accurate precision. On Mario Golf Super Rush and Mario Golf 64, the joystick didn't feel quite as nice since you sometimes do need to make smaller and more precise movements. When using the left joystick on the PowerA controller, it feels completely different from the official one. It's hard to describe, but it feels like it takes a bit more effort to move it, so I always end up hitting the joystick a little too hard. The joystick is also noticeably louder on the PowerA. The D-pad on the PowerA is probably its strongest feature. I tried out Super Mario Kart and Super Mario World, and the D-pad felt just fine. It doesn't feel exactly the same as the official Pro controllers, but it's close enough. Like the joysticks, the only annoying thing about it is that it's also a tad bit loud. The buttons on the PowerA controller are probably the same size as the official Pro controller, but they feel taller for some reason. The buttons take a bit more effort to push than the official Pro controller. Due to the cheap build, it always feels like the A, B, X, and Y buttons will get stuck or something since they feel less springy than the official one. The L and R buttons feel surprisingly similar to the official Pro controller, but still need just a tad bit more effort to push them. These buttons didn't bother me as much as the A, B, X, and Y buttons though. The Z, L, and ZR buttons also aren't quite as annoying as the A, B, X, and Y buttons. My only nitpick is that they feel a bit taller than the official Pro controller's ZL and ZR buttons. The plus, minus, home, and screenshot buttons all sit noticeably higher than the official Pro controller's lower profile buttons, but since these aren't pressed very often, this didn't bother me too much. Like the joystick and D-pad, all of the buttons on this controller are kinda loud. Another minor annoyance with the PowerA controller is that it uses micro USB instead of USB-C. It would be a lot nicer if I could plug it in without having to match up the shapes first. So the wired PowerA controller is missing a few features that the Pro controller does have. It lacks motion control, rumble, and amiibo support. When you pick up the wired PowerA controller, since it's wired and doesn't have a battery, it's quite a bit lighter than the official Pro controller, and the hollow plasticky feel makes it feel cheaper and less comfortable. Besides for having a cheaper price, another pro about these are that they come in a huge variety of different colors and styles. The official Pro controller doesn't have many variations, and I think they arguably don't look as good as the PowerA ones. So this controller obviously is leagues below the official Pro controller, but is it worth it in some situations? Most of my complaints came from comparing it to the official Pro controller, so if you've only ever played with Joy-Cons, you probably wouldn't mind this controller. This also does, on paper, seem like a great controller to use on the PC if you're already a fan of how the official Pro controller feels, but don't want to spend the full price for a PC-only controller. The PowerA wired controller is also really inexpensive. I got mine for about $20 US. But despite all of those temptations, I would still not recommend anyone buy this controller. The biggest reason I wouldn't recommend it is that its joystick is very prone to drifting. If you're really cheap and don't mind potentially having to open up the PowerA controller once in a while to try and clean out the joysticks, then maybe this could be for you. But even then, you should really consider if saving $50 is worth that potential hassle. The official Pro controller obviously isn't 100% immune to stick drift, but since it's made with higher quality materials, it's far less likely to drift. I know that the official Pro controller is a lot more expensive, and depending on your situation, it might be hard to save up for the full price, but I promise you that it is worth the wait. The official Nintendo Switch Pro controller is my absolute favorite controller in the world, so I'm gonna go return this PowerA controller and get my money back.